Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be using the Dior Palette Couture. This is the one that comes with the quint, also a couple of blushes, a couple of highlighters, and also 4 satin lipsticks as well. Now I didn't pick this up last year, but I did pick up the previous 2 years, so I'll show them to you as well. Now I decided to get this one because I thought the colour of the lipsticks were really beautiful, and at least a couple are really wearable for me, more of my everyday type of shades. And I also really liked the colour of the blushes as well, and of course the quint just looks absolutely gorgeous. So as usual, my skincare has been done for the morning, and I also put on some sunscreen about 10 minutes before I started this video. And for primer today I'm using the Sisley, it's the double tensure one. This gives such a beautiful base before I put on my foundation. I really love this primer. And then for foundation, I'm going to use the Dior. This is the Forever one. This is the one that's more matte. I have this in the shade, just like with my other Dior foundations. This is 2.5N. And since it's spring here now in New Zealand, and today, just looking out the window, it looks really beautiful. Now this one wears really well with my oily skin, and I shouldn't have to repowder it throughout the day once I do the initial powdering. I think this gives a beautiful finish. I love all the Dior foundations I've got. I don't think there's one that I would call a fail at all. There's only just 1 or 2 maybe that are more suited with my oily skin for the cooler months, say fall, autumn, winter and early spring. But then if I get a day like today where I know it's going to just get that little bit warmer, then these are the type of foundations that I reach for. And the coverage is, it would be a solid medium, and I really like that in a coverage for a foundation. Just with what is on the excess on my brush, I'm just going to tap a little bit under my eyes as well. So you can see how beautiful coverage that it gives. The side with it on, and I've still got to do this side yet. It is really lovely. And of course, just like with other Dior foundations, this one is fragranced. So off camera, I've put on some concealer, powdered under my eyes. I've also put on some eyeshadow primer, done my eyebrows, and powdered the rest of my face as well. I haven't put on any bronzer yet, just so you can get a good look at what these blushes look like once they go on. So now let's take a look at this beautiful palette. So here is the outside packaging, and this is the packaging of this Couture palette. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it has this gold colored bar here, and you just pull that down, and that's how you open up the palette. And it feels quite sturdy, this bar, but the packaging here is just beautiful. And inside the palette, as usual, is a really generous size mirror. It's the same width as this here. And also inside it comes with 2 brushes as well. So one of the brushes is for putting the lipstick on, and the other brush has one end a sponge applicator and the other end a little brush, and it's for applying the eyeshadow. And here is the inside of the palette. It's really gorgeous. So over here you've got the 2 blushes, and over here you've got the 2 highlights. In the middle, this beautiful quint, and down below you've got the 4 lipsticks, and they are in the satin formula. So I'm going to swatch this palette, and I'm going to go from left to right. So I'll be starting off with the shimmers, then move to the quint, then go to the blushes, and then finally the 4 satin lipsticks. So this is the first shimmer, and that is a champagne. Next is the second shimmer, and that is a really lovely gold. And then next I'll move to the quint, and I'm starting at the top, moving left to right, top to bottom, and in the quint I'll do the middle shade last. So here is the first shade. It's this beautiful plum, and that is a satin. Next we have got an ivory shade, and this is a satin as well. On the bottom left we've got a taupe, and that's also a satin. And then finally we've got a matte. Now this is a brown, and it also has just a slight bit of plumminess in it as well, but it is more brown. And then finally we've got the middle shade, and it is a really beautiful gold. It's not too yellow. It's gorgeous. Then I'm going to move to the blushes. So first of all, we've got this really beautiful pink. And then next is a nude. Now this has got pink in it as well. I think it is shade number 100, they call it in this palette. So it's just like the shade they're taking from the lipstick, the 100 nude look. And here are the lipstick shades. First of all, we've got number 100, which is nude look. And as I said before, all of these shades are in the satin formula. Next is shade number 663. Then we've got 473, and I think that one was called, I think it's discontinued, but that was called Zen Pink. And then finally we've got the shade number 738. So these two, or these three shades here for me, are definitely everyday type of shades. This one a little bit more deeper. Love the look of these two. And this one here is a red shade, and it looks like it's more of a brick red. And I'll just quickly show you the other two Dior Couture palettes that I got. As I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't pick up last year's one, but I've got the one from 2022 and also the one from 2021. So I'll try and hold them side by side. So first of all, I'm going to start with the palette. This is from 2021, and this had this faux leather design on the front, which was absolutely gorgeous. So at the top we've got this year's palette, and down below is the one from 2021. So next I'll show you the one from 2022. This had this beautiful velvet feel on the front here, and this was really lovely packaging as well. And once again, this year's palette at the top, and down below the one from 2022. So let's dive into this gorgeous palette. First of all, I'm going to start off with the eyeshadow, and today I'm going to use some BK Beauty brushes. Now with this quint, it just looks really beautiful. I don't know whether I'm going to use all the shades. Sometimes I say that and I end up using them all, but I really am not quite sure what I'm going to do with this yet, and we'll just see how it goes. I think I'll start off with this really beautiful, this taupe shade here. So this is the BK Beauty. This is the A502, and because there's such a big mirror in here, I might as well make use of it. So starting off with that taupe shade. When I swatched these, they felt really smooth, and they're also quite pigmented as well. So with this shade, I'm going to put this through my crease, and I'm also going to take this up onto my brow bone as well. Has to be one of my favorite shades for an eyeshadow is taupe. I just think it's a beautiful neutral type of shade, and definitely one that I can wear for my everyday makeup. Then I'm just using the bigger brush. This is a little bit more fluffy, and I'm just blending this out. I'm just going to go very slightly into that taupe shade again and just put a little bit more through here. And I did forget to mention that I had a look at the ingredients, and from what I can see, there are no talc in any of these products. So this quint it's from the new formula, and I don't really have any issues with the new formula. It's blending out really beautifully, and it is such a gorgeous shade. So I'm going to stay with that taupe shade. Now I'm going to use the BK Beauty brush. This is 204. And I'm going to use this just to apply some shadow on my lower lash line. And then next I'm going to go into this shade here. This is a really beautiful plum. And I was originally going to, with the darker shade, put that in my outer corner. But I think I'm going to put the plum shade in my outer corner. And we'll just see how that looks. And again, I'm just taking the bigger brush and just blending all that out. Now I am going to go into the deeper shade here, and I'm going to put a little bit of this in the outer corner as well. I'm using the smaller BK Beauty brush, and I just want to just stamp in just the smallest amount, and just stamp it in first, and then I will blend it out in a minute, and then just really gently just blend that out. Now I'm going to take one of the applicators that came with this palette, and I'm going to go into the middle shade. That is that really beautiful gold. And I'm going to put that over the rest of my lid. That is a really lovely shade. I love it when a gold is just not too yellow. I do wear a gold shade that is more yellow, but I just prefer one that has that, it's got almost like a little bit more warmth in it. Now I've just given that applicator a wipe down, and now I'm going to go into here. This is the lightest shade. So this is a satin as well, and I'm going to put this in the inner corner just to give a little bit of lightness. And because this is an ivory, you don't get that bright white. You definitely get that brightness, but it's just more, it's more softer because it's an ivory. And then I've just wiped down this sponge applicator again, and that middle shade, that really lovely gold, I am just going to put a little bit on my lower lash line as well, but just through here, not right across. And I'm just taking this smaller brush again, and I've gone to the deeper shade in the palette, and I'm just going to run a little bit of this on my lower lash line as well. So off camera, I just put on a little bit of eyeliner on the upper lash line and also the lower as well. It's a Dior one, some mascara, and here is the finished look. I think this is really gorgeous, and I think I'm tempted to actually wear this on Christmas Day. I think it's really, really beautiful. So now let's try these really beautiful blushes and also the highlighters as well. So I'm going to put a shade on each cheek. I am going out a bit later, so I'll try and even it up later. First of all, I'm going to go into the shade here. This is 100. And like I said, this one is nude look. So it's to match that beautiful lipstick. And I love the shade nude look in a lipstick. Now I'm using a Chukuhodo brush. This is a natural hair brush. I've only tapped in really lightly. Just want to see how this applies. Now it was quite sheer when I swatched it, but they can be a little bit different once you apply them. So I'll just go in again, pick up some more product. And that is really, really beautiful. It's more subtle. But for those of you that love a subtle blush, this is just absolutely gorgeous. So you've got that little bit of brown there, a little bit of pink. It's just beautiful. So how I've put it on now, this is how I would wear it for my everyday makeup. I'm going to go into it one more time just so you can get a good look at it on camera, because sometimes with the lights in front of me can wash it out a little bit. So I'm just going over it again. And it is definitely buildable, and I just think it is really beautiful. So I'm going to give my brush just a wipe down in front of me on my microfiber cloth. Now I'm going to go into this shade here. Now this is quite bright. Again, just pick up a little amount and see how this looks. That is really beautiful. That is really beautiful as well. It's really gorgeous. And I also think these are mixed together. So if you tapped your brush between the two, I also think you'd get a really beautiful shade doing that. And again, just one more little tap. The amount that I put on now, again, is enough for me for my everyday makeup. But for the camera, I'm just going to put on a little bit more so you guys can get a really good look at this. It's really beautiful. That is a really gorgeous shade. I wasn't too sure about it when I got the palette. I thought, oh, that's a bit of a bright pink, but it's actually really, really pretty on. So there you've got the more subtle one, the nude look, and here you've got that pink. I don't know which one I prefer. They're both really beautiful. So now I'm going to take my Rapha number 18 brush and go into the shimmers. I'm going to go into the gold one first. and put a little bit of this on my cheekbone. Now these from swatching are more subtle, which I do prefer in a highlight, and that is gorgeous. Just enough to have that really beautiful shimmer, but it's not too much. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and this would look beautiful on the eyes as well. You could definitely do a lot with this palette. That is really beautiful. It's gorgeous. So again, just wiping my brush down. Now I'm going to go into this one here. This is the more cooler of the shimmers, and I'll put this with this beautiful pink blush on this side. And again, just really gorgeous. That is beautiful. Beautiful combination. So now that I've got the shimmer and the blush on both, I'm not sure which I prefer. This is more, if you want that sort of colder look, is really gorgeous, but this one here is really beautiful as well. I love them both. And again, you can buff it out a little bit, and they buff out really beautifully as well. Just move my hair out of the way. Really, really pretty. So now let's try on these lipsticks. I'm going to use the little brush that came in this palette, and I'm going to start off with the darkest one first, because I think this is the one I'll end up with last, and that's the one that I'm going to wear today. So I'm going to start off with this shade here. So that is the first shade, and I do think that it looks really beautiful with the whole look, but it is quite bold for me. So now I'm going to wipe this off, and then I'm going to go into the shade, I'm going to go into this one next. So the one that I put on before, that was number 738, and this one is 473. This was the discontinued one, I think, and this was called, when it was available, this was Zen Pink. It's really, really pretty. A beautiful, beautiful pink. So now I'm going to wipe this one off, and next I'm going to go into this one here, and this is number 663. So this is number 663 shade, and it's beautiful. This is a really gorgeous rose. And finally, we'll go into this shade here, and this is the shade 100, and this is the nude look. And I've just flipped the brush over between the other applications. I just wiped the brush down with my microfiber cloth, but I've just flipped to the other side now because this is the lightest shade. So that is the last shade, number 100, and that is a nude look. And of course I was going to love this shade because I have 2 or 3 other lipsticks from the Dior range in nude look as well, in the different formulas. It's a really beautiful everyday type of lipstick. So this is the final look, and I think it is really pretty. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. The only thing I wish they would do with these palettes, and it doesn't really bother me too much, is it should be similar to what Natasha Denona does in some of her face palettes, and she just has a little plastic bit over here just to cover the lipsticks. It just stops the powders from transferring into the lipsticks, but it's not really a big deal for me, but I know that a few people do comment about that. But this is such a beautiful, beautiful palette. The eye quint is just gorgeous, and you can do a whole lot of different looks with this. I used all of the 5 shades. You certainly don't have to. This shade here just by itself with this ivory is just gorgeous, and I love it that there's an ivory in here instead of a really bright white. You still get that lightness, but it's not as harsh. They just perform beautifully. They blended beautifully, and the satins are just gorgeous, and I love it also that there's a matte in here as well. These blushes are beautiful, and I'm glad this year they included 100, the nude look, to match with the lipstick. A beautiful, soft, everyday type of shade, and I think it goes really beautifully with this gold highlight as well. Now this pink blush is beautiful, and as I was saying earlier, I wasn't too sure about it. I thought it might be too bright, sort of like a Barbie pink, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And this highlight is a beautiful, cool, icy pink and goes really gorgeous with the blush. Now, as I was saying earlier when I was applying the blushes, I do think if you tapped your brush between the two, I think you'd also get a really beautiful shade as well. The lipsticks are fabulous. Now, apart from this one, which is probably one that I won't wear, it's just not an everyday type of shade for me, but the other three are beautiful. This is a really gorgeous pink. It's really bright and just a cheerful type of shade. This one here is a really beautiful rose, and of course this one is my favorite, and that is the nude look. And together with this whole makeup look, I think it looks really pretty. The packaging on this is gorgeous. It has that beautiful full-size mirror in here. The applicators that come with this are really good. Now, I didn't use the brush part, but I did use the applicator for applying the shade through here, and also in the inner corner. Did a fabulous job at that. And also the little brush for applying the lipstick, that also does a really good job as well. Now, the brush itself is quite stiff, but it's actually really good because it helps you keep the lipstick just in line here, and then you don't go out of the edges in case you haven't got a lip liner to go with that particular shade. It really helps just to guide the lipstick on, and you're certainly not at risk of making a mess and going out from your lip line. But those three shades out of the four, I think, are really beautiful, and I've got a feeling that the formula in these satin lipsticks are the new formula as well, because I prefer them a lot more than the older satin formula that they used to have. So overall, absolutely thrilled with this. It is beautiful from the outside packaging with the box to the packaging itself. It is just gorgeous, and all the shades in are really beautiful, really wearable, beautiful for day. You can smoke it up for evening, and as I was saying, I think I'm going to wear this on Christmas Day. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So let me know what you think. Are you going to pick this up? Have you tried these before, and what do you think of them? So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.